One day I came home and my wife said, I have something to tell you, I'm pregnant. And now, I did get forgiveness for this, but I looked at her like this and I went. Now what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to pick her up and dance around and say, ooh, we're pregnant, we're pregnant. But I didn't do that. And she has me on that one to this day. So we had a little baby on the way, and it was kind of like, wow, we have a baby coming. It was just this big, huge shock. And little Jackson was the one that was coming. And we were getting close to his birth, we found out through some ultrasounds that he had a hole. They didn't really know what was going on. They knew that he had a hole in his heart, but they didn't know anything else. So they told us, went down all the list of things that could be wrong and what could happen. As we went into the hospital, we had like a little ER experience. My wife, she was trying to have Jackson naturally, and every time that she would have contractions, his heart rate would go way, way, way down. And so the nurse, who was from our ward, talk about, how amazing that happened to be, in tender mercies of the Lord. But the nurse from our ward said, if you were my daughter, I would tell you to get an epidural. Because in this case, if we did have to take him by C-section, then you would already have that epidural there. And so because this lady was from our ward and she trusted her, she said, okay, I will do that. And so there was 2 shots that she was to get. She got one, and before the guy could put the second one in, they said, we got to take this baby now, and they started rolling her down the hall. And the guy was running, like, with the shot. Like, no, and I was like going, what's going on here? It was crazy. We were in there. The guy was yelling at people. The person that was supposed to be delivering was not there. And then there was a resident that was going to kind of do it under the direction of, it was like his first time, and he came in late. The guy, the anesthesiologist, was yelling to people, you tell her it's okay, tell her it's going to be okay. And I'm like, telling her it's going to be okay. And he's like, you grab a towel, you don't wash your hands, you put a glove on. I was like, oh my gosh, this is ER. And we go over there, and after several minutes of this crazy yelling and stuff, and this baby came out, and they ended up having to take him by C-section, and found out that the cord was wrapped around his neck 4 times, and ultimately he cried and he was born. And over the next month and a half, we were in the ICU and in the hospital finding out that he had many heart problems. And one of the things that he had was a hole, and we've been praying, this hole would close, this hole would close. And what happened, we found out that when we ultimately found what was wrong with him, the hole is what was keeping him alive. He had transposition of major vessels, a bunch of stuff, and I'll explain that all to you later. But the big thing was that all of his blood was pumping into one chamber of his heart, and it couldn't take all that. But that little hole was actually allowing some of that blood to go out, and the pressure was enough so it didn't do too much damage to him. And at 15 months old, he was able to have a surgery, and now he's 10 years old. In our lives, we have lots of challenges. When this happened to Jackson, this was a challenge. And we were praying that the hole would be closed, when ultimately that hole was the thing that ended up being right. And I think sometimes we pray for those things to stop that are actually making us stronger.